Wow. So, what I'm about to play for you is a part one in a two-part series where Tucker Carlson interviews Devin Archer or Devon Archer. Uh, Mr. Archer is Hunter Biden's ex-business partner. He testified in front of, I believe it was the House of Committee Oversight, I believe, Monday. And this case is very, very interesting. I want to give you guys a breakdown of who this gentleman is in case you don't know. So I'm going to play that for you first. Then I'm going to play Tucker interviewing the gentleman. Tucker is an outstanding interviewer. Outstanding interviewer. First, I just got to bring you to the store. This is IamCoachColin.com. Get your Public Enemy #1 shirt as soon as possible. Stand against the WEF. Give them the middle finger in style. Also, show society that you are unjabbed and proud and you did not fall victim to the biggest psychological experiment ever put upon humankind. All of that can be found at IamCoachColin.com. And if you want 10% off, just put in the discount code area IamCoachColin, and that will get you 10% off any purchase. Doesn't matter. Big purchase, small purchase, multiple things, whatever you get, 10% off. Just put it all it's all one word, it's all capital letters, and there's one L on the Colin, and that gets you your 10% off. And if you've done that already with us, please, thank you. You are much appreciated. I just want to get right into this. So I'm going to switch over here, but then I also want to play this for you really quick, just so you can get a little breakdown of who this gentleman is and what's going on here.
Who is Devin Archer? Hunter Biden's ex-business partner says he never saw president talk business with son's associates. By Sarah Dorn. Top line. Devin Archer, a former business associate of Hunter Biden's, spoke to the House Oversight Committee on Monday, offering details on his decade-long relationship with Hunter Biden and times when he and the president crossed paths, including a series of phone calls between Hunter and Joe Biden that Republicans have called suspicious but Democrats argue undermines many of the accusations of wrongdoing against the president. Key facts. Archer, 48, met Hunter Biden through Archer's Yale classmate, Christopher Hines, food company heir and former Secretary of State John Kerry's stepson, ABC News reported, noting Hunter Biden's memoir, Beautiful Things, describes Archer as a self-made, super-motivated former college lacrosse player with a disarming charm. Archer and Hunter Biden served on the board of the Ukrainian gas company, Burisma, beginning in 2014 after Archer raised his name for a possible board seat, ABC News notes, citing Biden's memoir. Archer first made headlines in 2019, when former President Donald Trump shared a meme featuring a photo of Archer, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden on a golf outing that labeled Archer as a Ukraine gas exec, as Trump sought to defend himself following his first impeachment inquiry over his alleged efforts to pressure Ukraine to investigate the Bidens for corruption. In 2009, Archer, Hines and Biden founded the investment advisory firm Rosemont Seneca Partners, a spin-off of Hines and Biden's private equity firm that had dealings in both Ukraine and China, including raising $1.5 billion for a foreign investment fund launched by a pair of Chinese asset management companies in 2014, according to the Wall Street.
My God, I just wanted to give you that brief little breakdown. Good Lord, if anybody knows about the corruption of the Biden crime family, it is this gentleman right here. So now, with no further ado, let's play this interview.
So you worked with Hunter Biden in a bunch of different businesses. What were the specific skills that he brought to clients?
Well, at the end of the day, he had a career in Washington,
Yeah.
Graduated Yale Law School, and had a very big network in D.C., and brought that know-how and understanding of D.C. and ultimately the Biden brand.
The know-how, so as far as I could tell, he wasn't doing legal work.
Correct.
He wasn't in the counsel's office at Burisma, right?
No.
So the network and the Biden brand sounds like the kind of key component of
Absolutely,
what
yeah.
he was bringing.
Yep.
Do you think that he would have been in those businesses, not having a business background, without his father being in a government position?
It's hard to speculate in those regards. I mean,
Yeah.
I think when we initially met and he talked about his advisory business, his business that needed to transition from lobbying to advisory and the interest in private equity, it seemed it seemed like a new and interesting network for us to expand our business. Whether he could have, been in that position, it's hard for me to speculate. But
Right.
obviously, the brand of Biden, adds a lot of power when your dad's vice president.
For sure. And there was a time, maybe 10 years ago, when private equity, maybe like AI now, was just one of those terms people throw out, I'm in private equity.
Right.
But the mechanics, having done it, coming from a business background yourself, are kind of complex. Are they not?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a complex business. Takes years of training. But again, the initial idea around the business that they were going to provide, the government insight and an additional network to raise capital and then, deal with regulatory issues that you might have at the corporate level.
Right. Regulatory issues.
Exactly.
Okay, so that would be more his area.
Right, that would be his space.
Right. But did he have a sophisticated understanding of regulation, do you think?
I think that he led a team that had a sophisticated.
Okay, because I lived in Washington a long time, around a lot of regulation. Also, a very complex area.
Absolutely. I think you got to be an expert in knowing the guy, and he was the guy that was the expert in knowing the guy.
He was an expert in knowing the guy.
Right.
And who was the guy he knew?
Well, he knew a lot of people, but obviously there was some familiar, his brother, his father, some of his father's siblings. So he knew a lot of people. And obviously I know you're pointing to, the father being the key relationship.
No, I'm just trying to get a sense of, Washington's not a money town.
Right.
People aren't in business in Washington for the most part, and most people don't have business skills that I've noticed in 30 years of living there. So really the business of Washington is selling access. That's what it looked like to me.
Yes.
Not just under Biden, but
I think that's one of the core misconceptions. I mean, it seems like when understanding a regulatory environment means selling access at the end of the day. That's how I interpret it. And I think that's how most people in Wall Street, whether they admit it or not, interpret it.
Yeah. So we've got a complex business that intersects with government. We need a guy who knows it.
Right. How do I, deal with getting a guy a visa that needs to come over for a business deal? Right. Call our lobbyist that knows the guy in DHS or used to work in DHS or, in Customs and Border Patrol or the people at the embassy and state. They might be able to help. So there are very tactical elements that are regulatory and compliance and governance that you have to go through, and you got to know the guy that worked at the old agency that now has the lobbying firm that can go back to the agency and get things put to the front of the line.
So the reason I'm asking this is because it is not to give the Bidens a pass, hardly, but when people say, well, there's some question about whether Hunter was trading on his father's name, if you live in Washington, that's the whole city right there.
Right. I think you know the answer to that. At the end of the day, he had the best advantage to do that because of where he was. And, we thought that when we went into business, this was a great opportunity for us.
So I get it. And you're not the only one who did that.
Right. There were a lot of
Hunter
businesses.
Biden's not the only son of a famous government official who's done this, right? At all. But I just wonder, when you hear people say, well, it's kind of an open question.
Right.
About why they hired Hunter Biden, that's pretty disingenuous, no?
Right. I think at the end of it, so when you look at there are people that maybe were, sons or relatives or brother-in-laws of other high-ranking officials, but I think what we ran into and with what Hunter ran into was almost like an Icarus issue. So he got it was too close to the sun. It was too good to be true, and the connections were too close and the scrutiny too much.
Yes.
And it ended up destroying, it left a wake of a lot of destruction in business over a number of years.
So how many, it's been reported and you have said that there were occasions when Joe Biden would call in with clients present on a speakerphone.
Right.
How many times do you think that happened?
I mean, over a 10-year partnership, I would, the number I'm going with is 20. That's probably the amount that I kind of record. Yeah, a lot. You could say.
So Joe Biden, who's very much a product of Washington, of course must have known that he was calling in to effectively a business meeting that his son was having. I mean, he must have understood that was kind of what his son was selling.
Well, it's hard for me to speculate on that.
But I guess my question, just to keep it to the facts, Joe Biden, then the sitting vice president, knew that there were Hunter's business associates in the room.
Yeah, I think I can definitively say at particular dinners or meetings, he knew there were business associates, and or if I was there, I was a business associate too. So I think, or if, any of the other colleagues from the DC office or the New York office were there. So yeah, at times there were. From the, to be, completely clear on the calls, I don't know if it was an orchestrated call-in or not. It certainly was powerful though, because if you're sitting with a foreign business person and you hear the vice president's voice, that's prize enough. I mean, that's pretty impactful stuff for anyone in the world.
It's been reported, and I know that it is true, that Hunter and his brother were very close to their dad.
Absolutely.
Which I think is great.
Yep.
I've got a lot of kids. I'm very close to them, talk to them every day.
Yeah.
Never called them on speaker during a business meeting. That's weird. You've got a lot of kids. You're close to them. Do you call them on speaker during business meetings?
Do I call?
I mean, what is that? A grown man calling his dad on a speakerphone during a business meeting?
Right. And to be clear, sometimes the call was coming in and the speaker would go on. So it's just the presence. You have to be. I mean, you understand DC, right? So the power to have that access in that conversation, and it's not in a scheduled conference call, and it's a part of your family. That's like the pinnacle of power in DC.
100%. I guess I'm pivoting against the lie that I'm hearing people tell with a straight face. Congressman Goldman, for example, that we don't really know what was going on. Really? You're taking a call from the vice president and you put it on speaker. It's not just, hey, Dad, I'm in a meeting with some buddies.
Right.
It's let me put my dad, the vice president, on speaker.
Yeah. Yep. In the rear view, it's an abuse of soft power, I'd say.
An abuse of soft power. Interesting. When did you meet Joe Biden?
Joe Biden, I met the first time probably at the 2000 convention. I think it was in LA, and then Boston was 2004. So those two times I probably shook hands as they made kind of the power circles around the. You've been to them through the skyboxes, and then following that, really when our partnership started in 2008, 2009-ish, conversation started. That's when I re-met Hunter and actually had a sit down and a meal with him, and talked about the transition from lobbying into strategic advisory, and then kind of some type of coalescence around having a private equity fund that would have this unique access and understanding of a regulatory environment in DC.
Again, got it.
To be clear.
How many times do you think you met Joe Biden during the course of your relationship with Hunter?
How many times? I should have this off the top of my head since I've been asked so many times. Probably same thing, 20.
So I got one last question for you, and we'll do a much longer interview and get the entire story. But we found this letter, kind of amazing. It's from January 20th, 2011, which I think puts you in your late 30s, mid to late 30s. Right. Okay, so you're a younger man. This is from the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, to you personally, and it's personalized here at the bottom. Devin Archer, Rosemont Seneca Partners, that was your partnership with Hunter Biden in Georgetown. Dear Devin, I apologize for not getting a chance to talk to you at the luncheon yesterday. I was having trouble getting away from hosting President Hu Jintao, who's running China at that point. I hope I get a chance to see you again soon with Hunter. I hope you enjoyed lunch. Thanks for coming. Sincerely, Joseph R. Biden Jr. P.S. Handwritten, happy you guys are together. So there are many levels here. But here's the Vice President of the United States saying to you, a man in his mid-30s, who's not a government official, I'm sorry I was occupied with the guy who runs the world's largest country. I would much rather talk to you, and thank you. What was he thanking you for?
Well, first of all, it's a lovely letter, and it was...
It's quite enthusiastic. It's a little weird, though, right?
Yeah, well, it was kind of the beginning of our partnership, and he was thanking me and thanking Hunter, I think, at the end of the day, for bringing this idea of this government regulatory strategic advisory business into the private equity world. And I think he was excited about the prospects for Hunter, and he was just thanking me. I think it was a nice gesture.
It was a nice, for sure.
For sure.
Very polite. It gets a 10 on the etiquette scale, but he's a vice president of the United States, and he's talking about foreign business deals with you and thanking you for that.
I think, again, it goes back to my earlier point I think I hit the jackpot in finding the regulatory environment or company that can navigate right to the top. But, obviously as time was told, being a little bit too close to the sun ends up burning you.
For sure. And it did you, and
Absolutely.
you suffered greatly for it. And this is not a criticism of you. I would think as a business guy, you use every advantage. These are not business guys. This is the Vice President of the United States. He's not allowed to be working on businesses with foreign governments while he's Vice President. I don't think.
Not that I know of.
But here he is.
Right.
Amazing. We'll be back. Devin Archer, thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Holy. That is something else. And that letter's like mafia-esque. Like straight up. It really is. I apologize for not getting a chance to talk to you at the luncheon yesterday. He could just end it there. I was having trouble getting away from hosting President Who. It's like an understanding. This is purely speculation, but it reads like you understand who I am, and you understand who my son is, right? You understand. I hope I get to see you again soon with Hunter. I hope you enjoyed lunch. Thanks for coming. Whew. Very interesting. Wow. What do you think in the comments? What do you think's going on there with everything you just heard? What do you think was happening? It seems like, the thing I had written down right here, it seems like he was using his family name and the connections that come with it to get things done. And by which I mean Hunter. That's what it seems like. I don't know. It's like, you're growing up and you have that brother who can beat up anybody. And you kind of, you say, hey, my brother's over there. Hey, you try to hang around with them. You try to flaunt the name a little bit. It's like people who, name drop celebrities. Oh, I was just hanging out with Rogan, Yeah, just hanging out. Yeah, just doing a barbecue. Yeah, Yeah, I was at his house. Yeah, I can't really talk about the address. You're doing that kind of thing. That's what it seems like he's doing, but he's doing it with the Vice President of the United States. Man. And this Devin guy at the same time, believe me, he's not like some angel. Definitely shouldn't be presented that way. In this article that I presented to you guys, this Forbes article, they're talking about how he was convicted of 2 felonies in 2018 in connection with a conspiracy to defraud a Native American tribe and other investment advisory clients by deceiving them into issuing faulty bonds. He was sentenced in 2022 a year and a day in prison, but his punishment has been repeatedly delayed as he sought to appeal the conviction. The Justice Department over the weekend asked New York judge to schedule a date for him to be They asked for a date to be scheduled for him to go to prison. And some Republicans claimed the move was an effort to interfere in his testimony. Whoa. This whole thing is very interesting. We talk a lot about distractions on this podcast, and this is a great. If this is just a distraction, it's a great one. I'm tuned in. I want to see what happens. And it's odd. Maybe I have to go back and look into history, but with Trump, they wanted to impeach him, and I forget why. But this must be enough. I guess depending on how his testimony goes and what evidence they connect to things. But this gentleman giving this whole breakdown. He's giving it to Tucker Carlson right now. He already gave it to a committee. Is that not enough to get a guy impeached? We might see a president get impeached very soon. I don't know. Very interesting. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole thing. I'll be giving you part number 2 the second it becomes available to me. Like the video, subscribe to the video if you haven't already. We're doing 1 to 3 videos a day. Who else is doing that? I don't know many. This was episode 495. And again, let me know in the comments what you think's going on and what you think should happen. Interesting. Other than that, I'm out.